That's what's called relative poverty. But abject poverty, in other words, when people can't actually survive, has that gotten better or worse in the last, let's say, 30 years? Are more people abjectly poor or less people abjectly poor around the world in the last 30 years? How many of you guys would say more? Raise your hand. How many guys would say less? You know what the answer is? Far less. Far less. We have cut, get this, abject poverty around the world has been cut in more than half in the last 3 decades. Why? Why has it been cut in half? It's because the UN has been so successful and efficient in distributing funds to dictators around the world. That's the solution, right? No, that's not the solution at all. What's the solution? You know who gave you the solution of all people at a rock concert about two years ago? Bono. What did Bono, anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody know what I'm talking about here? What did Bono say was the solution? Wait, he was a rocker, right? And what did he say was the solution? Capitalism. Capitalism. Now, this is the same guy who's raised billions of dollars and given them to governments around the world. He's been a spokesperson for this sort of thing. He's changed his mind and he says it's capitalism. Because in the last 30 years, there's been this whole kind of push to let people actually access resources and do something on their own, right? And so instead of giving $1 billion to governments around the world, we've now got this organization, like my friends over at Hope International. Hope International give microloans around the world, okay? They've given, get this, 1 million loans in their existence. 1 million loans. They're not giving $1 million. They're giving $200 to a woman who wants to start a t-shirt shop in her village, or who wants to buy some goats, or who wants, in like the story that I heard just a couple weeks ago when I was with these guys, they want to start a bike shop in Russia, a bike repair shop, and they give them a loan. Do you know what the payback is on these loans that they give? The payback rate? Any idea? What would you guess? Well, because I'm telling the story. I'm giving it away here, right? Any guesses? What would the payback rate be on these loans? It is 96 to 99%, depending on the demographic. But it's microfinance. Isn't that unbelievable? So here's a solution. You're lifting one person out of poverty. And what does that person do with the loan? They turn it into capital. They make money. They pay back the loan. And then what do? They go on with their business. And that means what? They're set up for success, but not just them. What do they have to do in order to keep their business going? They have to hire other people. Right? So instead of giving $1 billion to a dictator, give $200 to a lady, and she'll lift her whole neighborhood out of poverty. Do you see what I mean? Now, I didn't mean to go on an economics lesson, but this is such a part of our common narrative. It's just like, well, if somebody got rich, that means somebody else got what? Poor. Terrible idea. How many guys want to go into missions? Raise your hand. Write this book down. You need to read this. Anybody going into missions, this should be required read. 2 of them, actually. I'll give you 2 books that are required reading. Because we have a whole lot of people trying to help people, and they don't know how to help people, and so they hurt people instead of helping people. All right? And that's the title of the first book. You got to read this before you're a missionary. It's God's will for your life, I'm telling you. He told me just now. Ready? When Helping Hurts. When Helping Hurts. Got to read this book. When Helping Hurts. The second book you got to read. By the way, Helping Hurts is written by a guy named Brian Fikkert, F-I-K-K-E-R-T. Fikkert, F-I-K-K-E-R-T. I'm pretty sure we have it in the bookstore. The second one you need to read if you're going into missions at all is this one. Ready? Discipling Nations. Discipling Nations. And this guy's last name is Miller, Darrow Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R, Darrow Miller. All right, you got it? All right. We got a couple more things. What else do you see as the difference between the Cosby Show and Seinfeld? Anything else? Yeah. Judaism, Christianity? I mean, you get a little Judeo-Christian stuff. I think they went to church, right? The Cosby Show people did, and Seinfeld did not. Yeah. Yeah? Oh, come on. What do we got? What's the difference between Cosby Show and Seinfeld? Children, yes, children are present. That has to do with the family. Come on, really? Yeah. There was racial difference, yeah. Then Seinfeld kind of took it and made fun of all these sorts of things, right? Seinfeld made fun of everything, which we're going to talk about that in just a second. Yeah.
kind of like a rock and a foundation. In Seinfeld, it's like really fluid, and there's not really that like set foundation.
Yeah. Well, you get the apartment and you get the coffee shop, but that's pretty much the two things. Yeah.
I've actually never seen it either, but I was in the 80s and the 90s, and I think that ones in the 90s probably had a lot more irony.
Yeah, there's a lot of irony. Yeah, it's a lot of sarcasm. Yeah. Yeah. It was actually, both shows are very well written and very different kinds of humor. So you could look at that sort of stuff. Every episode of The Cosby Show was clear. It told a story, right? You started at a particular place and you ended at a particular place. In fact, not only did every episode tell a story, but the entire series told a big what? Story. But in Seinfeld, was there a big story to any episode? No. And so right back here we are with there are no big stories, right? Seinfeld was made up of little stories. It was a series of episodes. Here's the next one that would fit along with this. If there's no big story, then life is random. Life is random. And we could throw in that word, life is random and ironic. Let's see if there's anything else on this. I'll move on. Let's move on to another image of pop culture. Who is this? Britney. Who is Britney Spears? It's an awkward question, isn't it? Who is Britney Spears? Well, who was she when she first came out? What was her? She was what? She was a pop singer. What kind of a pop singer? What was her kind of image when she first came out? First. Kind of teenage girl. Innocent, right? And then she put out her second album, which is I'm Not That Innocent. And then she became Not That Innocent. And then she went nuts, shaved her head, had a baby, and a whole lot of other things happened in between, right? She's changed a lot, hasn't she? So the question is, the answer to who is Britney Spears kind of is, what year is it? You know what I mean? Because like year by year, she kind of changes her image, she kind of changes her identity. She's following, by the way, the career path that was popularized by an 80s and 90s singer named Madonna, right? So in the 80s, Madonna was this hedonistic, sexually driven, singer, very provocative. And then in the 90s, she took this turn into like the Kabbalah and Eastern like New Age kind of mysticism sorts of things, or Jewish New Age mysticism sorts of things. And so she became kind of the metaphysical girl. So if you say who is Madonna, the answer is what decade is it? If you say who is Britney Spears, it's what year is it? And now we have the ultimate example of someone continually changing and changing and changing. And it's a tie between two. And that is Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber. No. He has consistently been a dweeb. No way. He has been stable as a, yeah. Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga. Yeah. Who is Lady Gaga? No one knows. No. If the answer, to who is Madonna is what decade is it, and Britney Spears, it's what year is it. For Lady Gaga and Miley Cyrus, it's what day is it, right? Now, what does this have to do? Let me tell you a story. What's your name? Andrea. Okay, Andrea, tell me about yourself. Who are you? Is this awkward for you?
Yeah.
Sorry. Where are you from?
Georgia.
Yeah? When were you born?
1992.
Yeah, you got a family? Yeah? How many brothers and sisters?
2 brothers and sisters.
Yeah? And what are you doing right now? I mean, you're at Summit, but yeah, okay.
UGA.
You're at UGA? You're a Bulldog, are you? Why are you a Bulldog?
Because I transferred out.
Yeah? Why did you transfer?
Obviously, tuition is too expensive.
Oh yeah, where were you?
Alabama.
What?
Alabama.
You went from Alabama to Georgia? You lived in Georgia, and you went to Alabama, and they let you live. And you came back, and they let you live. You hid, didn't you? This was like a covert operation.
My entire high school went to UGA. So.
Your entire high school did? So they accepted you back in after they shunned you for a year as you were cavorting with the enemy. Yeah. Okay, what do you want to do?
Hospitality.
Hospitality? Yeah, something like that. Cool. So what was your name again? Andrea. So I asked Andrea, who she was. So if you're at a party or you're hanging out with people around here and you said, hey, tell me about yourself. And somebody was like, well, I'm 5'4" and I weigh this much and my IQ is this much and my blood type is this much. You'd be like, that's really creepy and weird and walk away, right? Because no one like introduces themselves to you by giving you their specifications, right? Their technical specs, right? No, when you get to know someone, it's not because they tell you their facts. It's because they tell you their what? Story, right? So for Andrea to describe herself to me in this very awkward little exchange that just happened a minute ago, right? She had to tell me her what? Story. Ready? Story is intimately connected with identity. You don't know identity unless you know story, okay? Now, let's say in all sorts of Christian love, as Andrea was walking in this morning, that I took a 2x4 and I just smacked her upside the head as hard as I could. Now, it was in Christian love, so it's fine. And I just, and I gave her memory loss of some form or another, right? And she came to, and I'm like, hey, Andrea, tell me about yourself. And she couldn't remember her story. Could she express to me her identity? No. Identity and story are locked together. Now, you say, John, what's your point? My point is, remember this big key one? And remember, circle this one. This is the big aspect of postmodernism. We don't believe in what? Big stories. Listen, if there's no such thing as big stories, there's no such thing as fixed identities. So that's the next one, whatever we're on. There is no fixed identity.